Hey guys, how we doing? We are starting chapter 8
Yes, polygons.
today. Polygons, yeah. And it's kind of bizarre because back in chapter 1, we actually skipped two sections at the end of chapter 1, and one of them was polygons. I don't really know necessarily why we skipped it back then, but so we have to review some information from back then that we didn't cover back then. And so we got to go back, and that's why this slide says page 43. That's where the definition of a polygon is, and so on. But here's the definition right here. Have three or more sides. Now, we're making an assumption there that you know what a side is, but a side is just a line segment, and those sides only can meet at the ends of those line segments. They can't cross somewhere in the middle. That's one of the definitions of a polygon. And so as long as you have line segments that meet only at their endpoints and create however many sides, that's a polygon. Literally, the word polygon means many. Poly is many. Gon actually means angle, but we take it as sides because however many angles there are, that's the same number of sides. So this literally means many sides, polygon. Right? And there are two different kinds, convex and concave. I don't know if you have a better explanation than this, but convex are the typical type that we see. The easiest way for me to remember this, concave means that it's caved in somewhere. And so one of those endpoints is like inside the polygon to where the two sides that meet up at that endpoint, those two sides kind of cave in to get there. And so we'll look at some examples as we go here, but convex are the typical polygons that you think of.
Yeah, if you can, the way I always tell my kids is just learn to recognize what concave is, and everybody else is convex.
Right.
The way I tell my kids too is just imagine that the shape you're looking at is a cardboard box, and if somebody heavy sat on it, it would cave it in. And so just picture it. Did somebody sit on that box, and is it caving in back towards the middle? That's kind of the way I always envision it.
Okay. So we're just looking at different kinds of polygons here, and they're all based on how many sides they have. And so our most basic polygon that we can have is three sides. If you had two, it wouldn't create a shape. And so we all know a three-sided polygon is called a triangle. Three angles, three sides. And so we move up to a four-sided shape. Now, some of you might think a four-sided shape would be a square or a rectangle or whatever. Well, those are specific ones.
Right.
We're looking for in general here, just a general four-sided polygon is called a quadrilateral. Quad four, lateral side, four sides. Okay. Pentagon, maybe the easiest to remember, is the building in Washington, D.C. Pentagon has five sides to it. Penta is five. Again, gon is angle or side. So we just need to know prefixes from here on out. Hexa is six. Anything to remember that one by?
No.
Hexagon, that's a typical
Bolt.
nut or bolt,
Yeah.
is always a hexagon typically. This one's kind of bizarre, a heptagon. The only way that I tell my students to remember that is if you watch the Olympics, there's a track event for women at that level, and it has 7 events in it. Javelin, discus,
Oh yeah.
shot put, running events, long jump, all those. There's 7 of them that they compete in, and it's called the heptathlon. And so the heptagon has 7 sides. We don't see it a ton, but shows up every once in a while, and so it'd be good if you knew what it was called. Probably one of the most common shapes we talk about is a stop sign.
Right. Octagon.
Octagon. Okay, so 8 sides. Notice the difference between an octagon and a hexagon in terms of how you draw it. And we'll talk a little bit about that in class. It would be good if you knew how to draw these relatively easily. Kind of a weird name for 9 sides. You'd almost think of it as a ninagon, but it's a nonagon. So 9 sides. Now there's an example of a convex one.
That's right.
That's a concave nonagon because it's caved in.
Right.
Somewhere.
Somebody sat on it.
Somebody sat on it right in the middle there. Okay. You need to remember 10-sided by how many years in a decade is 10, right? Decathlon compares to the heptathlon. Decathlon is the men's track event that has 10 different events inside of it. And so a decagon has 10 sides to it. And really the only one that we typically talk about after that is 12 sides, and it is a dodecagon, kind of a weird name. But that's 12 sides is a dodecagon. Okay, also called the 12-gon, and we can call any of them. An n-gon is a general polygon, n number of sides, or a 15-gon or whatever is how many sides it has with the gon behind it. So
Typically after 10 guys, you can call it 11 gon, 12 gon, 13 gon. Not a big deal.
Yeah. So these are the ones that we have names for. And it'd be good if you knew these names.
Yep.
Because we're going to call them that, and so it'd be good if you knew what we were talking about. So, all right. So you might need to pause it here and write some of those down, maybe even make up a table with how many sides they have to it, or write inside the shape as you draw it how many sides it has to it.